Welcome back to the show. We are here with Timeless Closets and Company. Yeah, we have some friends here today to talk to us. Besides the owner, Wendy Scott, who we love and adore, who has been helping so many, especially throughout the tri-state area, with her amazing closets, with her lighting, with her stories about owning almost 200 shoes. She does a lot. Wendy, tell us a little bit about Timeless Closets and yourself, and then I would love for you to introduce your guest, Dianne, today.
You got it. I'm at 170 in shoes for the record. Timeless Closets and Cabinetry. You can get me as Timeless Closets and Cabinetry on all social media platforms, and my number is 908-975-9381. And while we've been doing a podcast all about closets, we've been once a month doing a tongue-in-cheek where we take skeletons in the closet and we talk about something, a subject that is extremely important and not talked about enough. And that's where we bring in Dianne. So Dianne, can you tell us who you are and a little bit about what's going on?
Sure. So thank you so much. So I have to say, first of all, changing your closet is one of the most amazing things that you can do. My husband and I just went through renovation. We didn't know about you, but our contractor showed us some really great things that we could do. And organized closet makes your life better. So I
It
can't say
helps
that
with our
enough, right?
mental health.
And as
It
someone
does.
who sells carpet and flooring for a living, one of my favorite things to do is when people come in and they're redoing a closet and they want to put something funky, like a leopard skin or something really cool in their closet, right? How Jersey girl of me to want leopard in a closet. So
I've
yeah.
seen it. You're so
So
correct.
yeah, so I actually was really excited today for this podcast because we do have so much in common. So my story is unfortunate and sad, but I believe in what you do matters. So I own a company called The Carpet Girl. We sell and install custom carpets and flooring and all of that. And in 2017, when I was about to franchise my company, the unimaginable happened. So my daughter Mallory was a normal, typical, everyday sixth grader. She was a gymnast. She loved making crafts. She loved taking old shirts and turning them into pillows. And she was just learning to sew. She had taken a few sewing classes. She was really very philanthropic. And she used to make these bracelets and she would sell them at our campground and give the money to Camp Good Days. I knew that Mallory was struggling at school to make friends. She is the youngest of my four children. And I, as a seasoned mom, you know when your kids are struggling, right? You know when things are just not. But like every other mom, you say, oh, this too shall pass, or, you know, eventually you'll find your tribe, right? Like, don't worry about those girls. Those girls aren't your friends. Ignore them, right? Like we say things like that. My daughter was bullied at school and online. And on June 14th, 2017, my daughter took her own life. It is statistically scary that our children, first of all, at the age of 12, know how to end their life. If you had asked me 7 years ago that my daughter would know how to hurt herself, it just no. She wouldn't even know how to do that. And would she do it? Why she did it? All of those questions obviously still linger. So because we weren't talking about teen and tween suicide in 2017, even though the CDC had released in January early that year that teen and tween suicide was on the rise and it was staggering, the statistics, we weren't really talking about it. And so after I got past the minutes of embarrassment after what Mallory had done, I don't know why, but there was just this fire that was lit inside of me that parents need to know if this can happen to our family, it can happen to anyone. And so we started a mission called Mallory's Army. It is a 501c3 foundation. It's we do school presentations, we do community events, we do fundraising, and we just do our absolute best to really try to warn parents the dangers, not just of bullying, but the social media is not social. And we really need to think about the dangers that we're putting in our children's hands, and need to understand. I call it the three S's, right? In kindergarten, kids learn that Santa Claus isn't real. In third grade, they learn about sex. And unfortunately, in fifth grade, they learn about suicide. And I think it's really important, September is Suicide Prevention Month. And I think it's really important that adults are leading these conversations and not kids on the playground.
I commend you on being here by doing what you've done with Mallory's Army, and of course sharing your personal story. And my condolences to you, your family. But I love how you're taking something so tragic and making it so powerful and to help others. So, by the way, Dianne, how can we find Mallory's Army? What is the website? Is there a page for us that we can go to?
Yeah, so we have a website. It's called mallorysarmy.org, MALLORYSARMY.org, Mallory's Army. We share a lot of content on our Facebook page, which again is Mallory's Army. You can follow us on my Instagram, which is the Carpet Girl. But yeah, like we try to share information for parents through our website and to provide resources.
And I'm sure you've helped so many at this point. Could you share a story or two? I'm sure you've spoken to people who have been impacted by Mallory's Army, whether it's parents or children. Do you want to share some of those?
Sure. It's funny. I have one of my favorite stories was a story that happened shortly after Mallory passed away. And it was a woman that reached out. And I think we all know when our children are struggling and when they don't fit in, or, something is wrong. And so this very open woman reached out to me and she said, I just want you to know, because of you, she said, I had a very uncomfortable conversation with my son. She's like, I knew he was struggling. I knew he wasn't fitting in. She's like, he was overweight. He had bad skin. And she's like, and I really didn't understand how to help him. She's like, but because of the information that you shared, she's like, I had the really hard conversation with him. And she's like, I went into his bedroom and I said, have you thought of hurting yourself? And as parents, we're really afraid to ask that, because we think that will give them the idea. And I can tell you that it's been debunked, right? It's just not true. And she said that she went in and asked her son, had you ever thought of hurting yourself? And he reached in his nightstand drawer and he pulled out a notebook. And in that notebook was letters of goodbye. And she said they cried for a really long time. And she took responsibility for not providing him with the support that he needed and not realizing. She said in that moment, they went to the pantry and they threw out all of the junk food, like all of it. And she said it was really healing to throw out the garbage. She's like, just to get it out of their house. She said she hired a nutritionist. She said she hired a college student to take him shopping so that he could buy cool clothes. And she said that entire summer, he walked every day and just ate healthy. And she said, I just want you to know that my son has never been healthier and happier than he is. It's such a powerful story.
I got
And it
goosebumps
really,
from this one. Yes.
yeah, it was one of those moments that you go, that's what it is. And so instead of looking at the world and trying to change laws and hold people accountable for mistreating her son, she really had a moment of self-reflection and said, I'm not going to change how people at school treat him, but I'm certainly going to empower him to take care of himself. And every once in a while, I get an email from her letting me know how he's doing and how great. And she said his life has never been better. And so, if I don't do much more in this life, I know that his life is better because of us. And so that's a pretty great moment.
Wow, impactful.
So
Wendy?
Mallory's Army is both educational about bullying as well as suicide prevention.
We do our best. I mean, here's the
Yeah,
thing. Like, yeah, like there's so many different aspects of it. So we try not to be suicide prevention just because we're not educated in that, right? Like if someone
right.
reaches out to me and they're having suicidal thoughts and ideations and anything like that, I'm really not trained and I don't have any letters behind my name to help with that. So and I want to be more than awareness, right? I think we're all
Right.
aware that there's a problem, whether it's the abuse of social media, whether it's kids raising the bar on hate, whether it's
Yeah.
disconnected parents. We are all aware that there are problems. So we want to be more than awareness. Um, but the solutions are very personal. And I think the story says that, right? Like the solutions, sometimes you have to look inward. You have to take
Yeah.
responsibility. Maybe your child is not mature enough to navigate the social sites. And as a
Mm-hmm.
parent, maybe you need to remove that, right? Like maybe soccer practice isn't social for your child. Maybe it's just soccer practice, and maybe you need to invest in more social opportunities for your child so that they can build resilient behavior. So it's more than just awareness. But again, Mallory's Army, we can't fix everybody's problems. This is something we have to do ourselves.
Do you find that there was more conversation after your foundation was created and everything? It's
Absolutely.
less
And I
shame and
will,
it's more sharing.
yeah, I will take credit for that. Like I said, in 2017, we were not talking about teen and tween suicide. And my husband and I are always very curious why Mallory made national news, right? Like
Yeah.
we were on the Today Show, we were on Megyn Kelly, we were on News Nation, right? Like we were always curious as to why Mallory's story. I mean, News 12 covered Mallory for probably years because we were. And sometimes other children who self-harm don't really get the coverage. So I was always curious as to why that is. But I think it's mostly because she was the first one we really started talking about, right? Like we just weren't identifying that children were self-harming as a result of how they were being treated at school and the link between social media and
Yeah.
self-harm. So I think that was kind of the first time that there was a
Ah,
national story.
I mean,
When
I
I
can't. I mean, the social media thing. I have a 7 and 9 year old, two little boys who are starting in that, but my teenage nieces and nephews, and how that really affects them, thinking that everyone's life is so perfect and what they look like, and everything is about now looking, using this makeup, using that makeup, and it's like brainwashing them. It's really sick. It's sad.
It is, and it is directly linked to influencers and their experience and how much time they're spending online, right? Like,
Yeah.
I want to say when like the internet came out, and I'm really dating myself, but there was a life before the internet, right?
Yep.
But I remember when AOL and chat rooms first came out, and it was never let the computer be in your child's room, right? There was this movement of not putting the computer in your child's room, that there were safety measures that needed to be
Yep.
put in place in these chat rooms. And John Halligan's son was a victim of that exact movement. And if you look at John Halligan's son, Ryan, and Ryan's story, and you compare it to Mallory, 15, 17 years apart, their stories are almost identical. So we didn't get better, we got worse. We took the computers out of their bedrooms and we put it
Yeah.
in their hands.
True.
And I think that in some circumstances, right, the internet and the social sites and all of that, they do make us better, right? They connected us in
Me
this.
too.
You may not have heard about Mallory had we not had some
No.
element, but I think we are putting way too much weight in our children spending so much time online. It's not social media. If
Yeah.
anything, it's anti-social, right? It's isolation media is what they really should be calling it. But that doesn't sell, right? We call it social. Kids don't hang out at the mall anymore. They hang out in these chat rooms.
Yep.
And the problem with that is that they don't build resilient behavior because of it, right? The way that we build common ground is through moments just like this. I like ice cream, you like ice cream. I like dogs, you like dogs. And before you know it, we have this thing in common and we can get past our differences because we have built this common ground. And you do that through socialization, through conversation, through playground play. We have removed recess from many of our school programs. Like, how sad is that? Is that kids, and if they do have recess, it's so structured that what happens is kids just automatically only gravitate rather than they only gravitate to their close knit. So again, that's isolating them even further. So it's a bigger problem than just social media and just bullying. We truly have a social interaction problem that's impacting our children and how they grow up.
Oh, my goodness. And by the way, can I ask how the two of you connected?
I've been following Diane's and Mallory's story since day one. We're in, you're in Hunterdon County, right?
Morris County.
Morris County,
Yeah,
but Hunterdon
Rockaway
County, Morris
Township.
County, we're right next to each other. So all the schools, we kind of all follow each other. So from day one, I've been following my son, he's 26, so this is way long ago, but in junior high, he was, he's a black and white kid where you can't say it's okay if this happens, it's either this or that. And there was a hallway in school that he wasn't allowed to go down unless there was no one in that hallway. So what does my son do? He goes down the hallway, and this group of girls started picking on him, which is weird. It's a boy, and the girls are calling him names, using really derogatory swear words.
Listen, middle school girls, you want to solve world peace? Send in a pack of middle school girls. I'm not kidding. You want to solve the problems in the world? Middle school girls can be extremely cruel. Not even mean, but cruel. Yes.
But the schools my son is the one that got in trouble. Nothing happened to those girls, not even a slap on their wrist. They grabbed him by the hoodie and yanked it and choked him. And they constantly swore. And I want to know, is there more of an awareness towards the bullying side now in the schools?
I mean, the culture of schools has to change in order for us to evolve. However, and I tell this to every parent, and they struggle with understanding this, it's not against the law to be an asshole. I'm going to say it again. It is not against any law to be an asshole. And that doesn't matter whether you're an adult or whether you're a child, particularly with children, right? You have to remember, we're not throwing children in juvie because they gave someone the middle finger or they pulled on someone's hoodie. So one of the problems that we have here is that this common courtesy so there's not discipline. When children can predict the consequences of their behavior, you will see change. I'll say it again. When children can predict the consequences of their behavior. The problem with it is that it's a free-for-all at school, right? Some kids get in trouble for things, some kids don't. So it's not predictable, right? I know that if I am speeding in a school zone, I'm going to get pulled over and I'm going to get a ticket. So what do I do when I see a police officer? I immediately hit my brakes because I don't want the ticket, because I can predict the consequences of my behavior. Children cannot. There is a lawless vibe in the school systems, and children know. If you ask kids who the bullies are and who the victims are, they will tell you. Hurt people hurt. The kids know what's going on in the hallways. They are the presidents. They are the CEOs. They are the executives of the hallways. What goes on and how kids are treated is a direct result of the children who are running the hallways. And so if we don't put systems in place that hold children in consequences and accountable for that, then we're not going to see the bullying change or the behavior change. And it certainly won't change in school, and it certainly won't change online. So, I tell parents all the time, well, my kid's not a bully and they made a mistake and they did this. Listen, let your kids get in trouble at 14. Because you know the difference between getting in trouble at 14 and getting in trouble at 18? A felony. I would much rather my kid have in-school suspension, detention, or have to pick up trash on the side of the road at 14 rather than having to bail them out of a situation when they are 18, 19. The difference between bullying at 14 and bullying at 19 is called hazing, and it's a felony. You better get your kids' house in order before they go off to these schools and apply to all of these sororities and fraternities and all that. Because again, it's a gateway into that type of behavior. And if they get away with it at 14, they think they're going to get away with it at 18 or 19. And let them get in trouble. Let them get
Mm-hmm.
kicked off the soccer team. Let them be suspended from playing football for the rest of the year, because that's an incredible, valuable lesson to learn as a child, and they won't do that again as an adult. I know.
It's so impacting that you're like,
It is.
wow. And I'm gonna just say, if the school doesn't do it, you need to do it as a parent. If the school
Right.
doesn't pull them out, you pull them out.
Right.
Because I
I
don't
don't
think the
understand
schools are
this.
strong as
This
they should be.
Yeah, I don't understand this philosophy of my kid would never do that. I literally had a parent one time say to me that there was no way that her daughter wrote the things that the school said that she wrote on, Snapchat or whatever. Someone must have hacked her account. There's no
Oh
way
my
that she would have
gosh.
done that. And I just, without laughing in her face, I laughed in her face and I was like, that's the problem.
Yeah.
There's a very good chance your daughter did write that. And instead of defending the behavior, let's parent the behavior.
Yeah.
Let's let them see the consequences of what that feels like and understand. Because again, I would much rather them get in trouble at 14 than get in trouble at 19.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for putting us on this track to start thinking. And I hope parents are listening, people are listening, because you're right. It's about accountability, and it could be your child being that bully. I'm the same way. I'm always had a situation just a few weeks ago on the football field. And what happened was I brought my neighbor's kids with my kids. My son's only 9. He was practicing football. And the older kids I brought with me, my neighbors, my good friends, they're 16 and 14. Little boy, well, big boy. And one of the parents comes over to me and says, your son was saying, trying to lure my daughter, who's, 7, saying that he's going to get her candy from the ice cream truck. And I'm like, what? It was my neighbor's friend, but still, my neighbor. I said, what? I said, she's like, yeah, he scared my daughter. I grabbed my neighbor's name's Ryan. And I'm like, what did you say? He's like, oh, I was just joking. I said, that's not right. That is horrible. You scared the little girl. I said, so holding him accountable, I'm not even his mother, but like if it was my kid, which it could have been, it's just like you gotta be that person and you gotta, take the blame, because it was his fault. But some parents are in such denial. My kid would never say that, would never do that. No, you never know. So you got to
Right.
confront it head on. I agree with that. Thank you. Thank you for, thank you for doing what you're doing with Mallory's Army. Would you mind,
Yeah.
Diane, telling us again how we can contact you?
So Mallory's Army, mallorysarmy.org is our website. info@mallorysarmy.org is our direct email. So if there's a parent that has some questions about what's going on, if you want to live in a great community, it starts with you. You've got to be a great community. People get so caught up with the presidential elections and all of this. And I'm going to tell you something. The best impact that you can make in your community is localized, right? Know who the Board of Ed members are, right? It's this time, it's election season. You should know who's running for Board of Ed. You should know what they believe in, what policies they're passing. Participate in your
Yep.
Board of Ed meetings. Know what's going on in your community. These are the things that truly will make a difference. It's called
For
PTA or
sure.
PTO for a reason. It's Parents and Teachers Association. You've got to collaborate, and it's not about making sure that the teachers are appreciated on Teacher Appreciation. It's really about understanding
Yep.
what's going on within the school system, what's going on with the culture of that. Who are the anti-bullying specialists? Who's the HIB coordinator? You need to know who these people are and have a mindset of being proactive versus being reactive. If you wait until there's a problem, it's more than
Right.
likely too late.
And thank you again. Tell us the website, both of you, how we can reach you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So you can
Mallorysarmy.org. Yeah.
mallorysarmy.org. Diane, thank you so much. Jill and I both got shirts. They just didn't get here in time. So your blue ribbon will be walking around eventually in New York with Jill and in Hunterdon County with me. You can get me at Timeless Closets and Cabinetry, Wendy at timelesscc.com, 908-975-9381. And all of Diane's information from Mallory's Army can also be found on my website under the podcast.
Yep.
And she also has a QR code where you can go direct for donations for Mallory's Army as well.
Beautiful. And I know you did mention Mallory's Army last time. I wasn't aware that Diane was the mom until when you introduced her, it took a little bit. You told me about, last week she promoted her on the show and to read her child's story. So I'm so sorry, but I'm also blessed you're here speaking out about it and doing
Thank
something
you.
to help others. Thank
Thank
you
you.
again, ladies, and looking forward to our next time we speak. Bye bye.
We'll
Thank
see you
you.
next week. Thanks,
Thank-
Diane.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.